What's something that seemed totally harmless when you were a kid but now feels super weird or creepy as an adult? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. When I was a kid growing up in the South, we played a prisoner game where we had a bucket of white marbles with a single black marble or stone. You had to close your eyes and reach in, and whomever got the black marble was the prisoner, and they had to run and hide. And all the rest of us had to chase them and try to stop them from escaping. We had cap guns and super soakers. In retrospect, a game that involved a group of all-white kids running through fields and around houses with toy guns screaming, "Let's find the black kid before he escapes," probably would not be advisable these days. Story 2. Walking up to strangers' houses and asking if they had any. Seriously, as a kid, I would walk around the neighborhood and just randomly knock on doors asking if they had kids, and if so, if they wanted to come out and play. Some of these neighbors even offered for me to come in and have something to drink or a snack. Seemed totally harmless then. Now? Well, I don't think you would get any good looks if, as an adult, you went and knocked on random doors asking if there were any kids to come out and play lol. Joking aside, yeah, I guess I was lucky nobody decided to kidnap me or kill me or who knows what. But great way to make new friends back then. Story 3. When I was about 11, my parents put me in voice lessons with a guy at my church. He was in his late 20s, kind of a goofy guy, married with a toddler. One day he took me up behind the large projection screens in the auditorium when we were practicing to show me the speakers or something, and I thought it was cool. We just so happened to run into one of the janitors who was working on fixing something in there. I didn't think much of it. Later on, my parents asked me if he ever did anything inappropriate. I found out he got arrested for f***ing another girl he was giving voice lessons to. I immediately thought of that day, and I shudder to think what would have happened if we hadn't run into that janitor. Story 4. My mom let a guy, mid-40s, from church, take my sister and I, separately, to a nearby musical theater, about an hour away a few times a year. I was in high school and my sister was in elementary, middle school during this time. Sometimes we'd meet his wife at the venue, but he always transported us alone. I don't remember anything untoward happening, but looking back, I don't know why my mom would allow this. I guess being from church made him trustworthy or something. Very strange coming from someone who wouldn't even let me have a boy over with supervision. Story 5. How my dad insisted on being in the room during my medical exams, even into my late teens. The few times I expressed discomfort, he gave me the silent treatment for days after, because it looks weird for you not to want me in the room. Like he felt that my not wanting him in the exam room was abnormal, and now the doctor would think I didn't want him there because he was sexually abusing me. Now as an adult, I'm like, no, that's totally normal to not want your father in the room when you're getting a pelvic exam. He was controlling and creepy about my body and development, and it f***ed me up for decades. Story 6. When I was a young girl, I didn't think it was weird for adult men to ask me about my dating life or history. I was that teen that thought she was very mature for her age, and adults would tell me I was all the time, so it didn't seem inappropriate. Now, the idea of a something-year-old man asking a year-old girl about who she's dating and what she likes is so disgusting. I get if you are a dad trying to stay close to your daughter just to know what's going on, etc. But not some random girl. Gross! I now tell teenage girls all the time, in 5 years you will be shocked by how much of a kid you are right now in this moment. Adults don't see you as a peer. They get annoyed, but whatever. You gotta keep kids safe. Story 7. Dating people you meet in a chat room. I did this, and I am very lucky I didn't get into any bad situations, because the person I was talking to was almost certainly not a fellow teen. This was over 10 years ago, so knowledge of internet safety was not widely known or talked about. I traded photos with this person, and the photo he gave me was some emo teen with a website link in the corner. I noticed it and went to the website, which hosted photos of emo people. The photo he had sent was on the front page. So yeah, almost definitely a photo he grabbed after Googling the most generic emo search terms. Story 8. Back when I was around 9 to 10, my mother's ex used to stand at the window in the back bedroom, which was my older brother's, and then mine when he moved out, that used to face a little field and just look outside when kids were playing. I never thought anything of it, just thought it was weird. Realized how creepy it was when I was older and knew more. He was a pedophile. Also made sense that when they broke up, my mother sat my younger brother and I down to ask if he was ever inappropriate with us. To make it even worse, he was our grandfather on our dad's side, dad's uncle, and people were aware of what he was. Story 9. Being in soccer practice, and the coach would make us turn around and stick our butts out so someone can practice their aim and kick the ball at our butts. He would have about 4 people stand in a line bent over with our rears out and have someone with the same amount of balls as there were people bent over kick them at the bent over kids. If the ball hit your butt, you were out, and if you were kicking the ball, and we had to run around bent over at times. And now that I think about it, why did the parents let that man do that? Story 10. Lawn darts. My brother and I used to throw them at each other in a game of dare. The idea was to stand about 6 feet apart with legs spread out and take turns throwing the lawn darts at each other between the legs. Once each had thrown the darts, we would collect them and take a large step back and try again. If the person jumped back out of fear of the lawn dart hitting them, they lost. Fun until our mom stopped us, took our lawn darts away. We then started using knives. Story 11. Dress code at schools. It's just so weird to have adults looking at children's bodies and tell them that what they are wearing is too inappropriate or sexual. And most of the time, it's literally just leggings or a dress that goes right above the knee. And it always made me super uncomfortable, but I never knew why. When I was in 7th grade, all 4 of my teachers pulled me out in the hallway to inspect a dress I was wearing. They had me do a 360, and when I turned around, my one teacher told me that my butt curves out in the back, so that's why I couldn't wear that. And she did a curve motion with her hand while explaining that to me. First of all, my butt literally has never curved out. I wish though. Looking back, I could have never said something that weird to a kid about their body. And I promise this dress was not even showing much. It literally went down to my knees and wasn't tight at all. I was so embarrassed. Another time I was wearing a tank top and shorts in high school with a long jacket that went down to the back of my knees. I was never planning on taking the jacket off as I was super insecure about my shoulders. When I got dress coded, the nosy low-life ass office ladies told me to take my jacket off so they could inspect the outfit, and when I said no to them, they called my parents. I tried to tell them I wasn't going to take off the jacket, but they were upset that I said no to them and was weirded out by their behavior. And I've heard so many worse horror stories from other people about this. It's just so weird to me. And when you ask why a dress code is even in place, the answer you'll receive is so boys and male teachers don't get distracted. I wish this wasn't acceptable. I won't even comment on the make teacher aspect of that, but can we teach boys not to get distracted by bodies? And if they do, I think that's on them. I don't know. It's always rubbed me the wrong way. Story 12. I had a very eye-opening experience this year. I'm a woman and I'm 30 now. There was a funeral this year where I saw a lot of my father's older adult male friends that used to be around a lot while I was growing up, but who I really hadn't seen for several years now. Now, I absolutely never felt unsafe with these people as a kid, and I don't even think they truly had any malicious intentions at all with what happened. But the amount of adult men who felt they could just immediately physically touch me and come right all up in my space for someone they had known as a child and hadn't seen for many years was, they were hugging me, putting a hand on my shoulder, lightly grabbing me from behind when walking up to me. Now, these are all things that would be normal, and I personally would be comfortable for like a friend or a close relative to do. I'm definitely a hugger with my circle of people, but I just felt so aware of like the access that these people just assumed they had to me. I didn't feel unsafe or violated. Again, I don't feel like anyone was actively trying to harm me in any way. It was just very eye-opening that these men just felt so comfortable to do that. Story 13. Back when I was 13, I had a DeviantArt account and befriended a guy that was 18. It started out as us complimenting each other's artwork, but then escalated to chatting. We lived in different states, but we never exchanged phone numbers or email, etc. He never once asked to visit me. Many of our conversations were on hobbies and interests and school. He admitted to me he was suicidal and severely depressed and had relationship issues with his girlfriend. Our conversations then changed to me being his therapist almost. He complained a lot about his girlfriend, his life, how he wanted to die, how he couldn't find a job, etc. again. I was 314 giving advice to an older guy on topics I really didn't have much or even any experience on. It really escalated when I posted a picture of myself on the site, and he complimented that I was a beautiful emo girl. As a preteen teen, I thought of him as a friend, He was actually my first online friend, and I am one of those people that really wanted to help someone. As an adult now, it creeps me out that this 18-19-year-old was complimenting me and asking for advice on serious topics when I was only 13-14. Story 14. My mom's grown-ass male friends always wrestling me late at night and her encouraging it. Even when I'd yell for them to stop, she'd get mad at me and yell at me for being upset. Then them creeping in and taking my belongings out of my room when I was asleep and waking me up telling me I could only have it back if I came out. And wrestled them for it. Or chasing me while I ran and hid under my bed because a grown-ass man was trying to tickle me even though I was screaming and clearly afraid of him. He'd come into my room and reach under and tickle me that way. I hated it so much. Edit. I'm in GL. I had no idea this was as bad as it was. I'm reading these comments of everyone being horrified, and even though I was extremely uncomfortable in those situations and they affected me, long-term even today I never had any idea it was that bad. I just thought maybe I was overreacting, considering it's not even the worst thing to happen to me by far, especially involving my mom. She never had my back, not once. So in comparison to all the bad things that have happened to me that were done to me, this was absolutely nothing, which is probably why I didn't clock it as anything that bad. Story 15. A woman in her 30s used to let my friends and I in our young teenage years, 12 and 14, hang out in her house every night. This woman would supply with us with alcohol, legal limit 18, and cigarettes at the time. Legal limit 16, while her underyear son slept upstairs with the music on full volume and us not being quiet at all. We only used the downstairs bathroom. No one was allowed upstairs. They would always ask for our older male friends to come around, guys 15, 16, and flirt with them a lot. Once my mom found out, she put an end to it. I was furious with her. I didn't understand why I couldn't hang out with this woman. No harm was coming to me, right? Well, my mom told my friend's parents, and nobody was allowed back, and this woman soon moved from the area. Looking back over 20 years later, I can see all the problems as clear as day. The woman's child I feel the worst for. They must have been screaming upstairs and being neglected. There were times we were there well over 8 hours, and she'd beg us to stay. The poor child must have been hungry, needing diaper changes, just needing motherly attention, and she was more interested in keeping a bunch of kids in her house thinking she was cool. I don't know if she ever touched anyone inappropriately, but she certainly said inappropriate things. Yeah, if I found out my kids were doing this, I would act like my mom. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your those in the comment below.